So let's begin. Let's start talking about how has the world of the consumer changed, and how has consumer behavior been impacted because uh, of technology. There are two ways of looking at technology. There are people who look at technology as a disruptor. It disrupts the existing patterns and makes us adopt uh, newer patterns. Some do it as an opportunity of doing things differently. Others always talk about the good old days. There was a time, in our time, हमारे ज़माने में ऐसे होता था, right? I and most teachers within marketing look at technology as a universal enabler. Technology enables so many things in terms of sheer marketing, access to remote consumers, ways of reaching out, getting into their homes with very little effort, right? Think of the kind of media plans that would be needed to get into each consumer's mind. Today, you can do it through a well designed web integrated program. So, the outlook that I would be taking in most of these things would be technology as an enabler of marketing action, technology as a variable that has provided unlimited convenience to the consumer, also affordances. So we must try to look at technology in terms of the affordances that technology provides to all of us. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, this is just a very generic slide which talks about how have consumers been adopting technology one way or the other. This is a sort of a global slide where this is from everywhere. I mean, it's a global this thing. What has been the adoption, and adoption has changed in different age groups. So you would see more e-readers in the older age group, but right from 18 plus, you can see the number of figures that are touching 100%. And now this adoption is only growing. Just spend a minute, all of you, especially my young learners, and I want to say something about all the young learners, is the sense that people like Nutan, Professor Khurana, myself, are digital immigrants. We immigrated to digital technologies after living maybe half of our productive life. You people are digital natives. You were born into a world because at your school itself, you would have gone into computers, basic IT, and so on. People like me would read the message again because I might make a mistake one way or the other. So, this adoption of technology is far higher among people below a certain age than people we when the reason I say we are digital immigrants is that, okay, just a recap, what is consumer behavior all about? I've just given a very generic definition where we say it's consumer behavior is a subset of human behavior, right? We're all humans. One subset of our behavior is consumer behavior. Everything that we as an individual we do to take decisions about how to spend available resources. I've definitely not used only money, only buying and selling. It's my time is a resource, my effort is a resource. How do I make decisions to spend that time? Therefore, if I want to see a movie, except other than watching a match, this is a choice I'm making, and therefore my use of that resource of time is a consumption decision. So, how do people make these choices? And on consumption related items. Therefore, what do you want to buy? How do you want to buy it? Where do you want to buy it? How often do you want to buy it? And so on. This is one part. The other part is what are the factors that impact that decision making? My resources would impact that. My socio-cultural surroundings will impact that. For example, if you're an Indian sitting in Delhi planning a snack, your snack choices may be very different from people who are living in Scandinavia and have different kind of food choices. So your culture, your subculture will determine that these are the variables that would impact. So consumer behavior is not only a study of the decision process and the the ecosystem within which this takes place. It's also a study of the variables that impact this behavior. This is, I'm just recapitulating, just remembering, falling back for people who are doing marketing, they would have done this, the decision process. But for the others who have not, we'll quickly go through this. All consumer decision making, the inputs are from the marketing mix, for example, the product, price, promotion, and so on. My own socio-cultural background, that means my culture, my subculture, my social class, and so on. Uh, Again, inputs will come to me from the market. They would also come to me from friends and relatives. So people have, somebody is wearing a new watch, you look at it and you get an input. So communication sources could be advertising, bud spots, peer interaction, and so on. And sources of communication, word of mouth, reading something, people uh, getting inputs, and so on. So this is all the input part, right? How do consumers decide? The first thing in the decision process is you should feel a need for something. For example, you're sitting here, some of you who missed a breakfast would start feeling hungry, right? So that means, and how do you define a problem? When we say you recognize a problem or there's a need, what is a problem? When do you identify a problem? Anyone? Younger people? Yes. What is the stage of problem recognition all about? You don't need to give me a technical answer. You can just talk about when do you realize that there is a problem. No, something may be very right. You still recognize a problem. For example, you have to go out. You have to go attend a friend. How many of us have stood before our wardrobe and say, the wardrobe is full of clothes. You still say, I don't have anything suitable to wear. This is something I wore. That is something I wore at the last picnic. The same people were there, right? कितनी बार होता है हमारे साथ कि खड़े होकर हम कहते हैं, I don't have anything suitable to wear. Family में कोई function है, I don't realize. I mean, most of my clothes are Western or office clothes. Therefore, I don't know what to wear. At that point in time, that becomes there's no nothing wrong there, right? You have a wardrobe full of clothes, yet. So when do you, in general behavioral terms, we define a problem as whenever there is a discrepancy between the ideal state and the actual state. The ideal state is that you should be nicely comfortable having had your breakfast. The actual stage is you missed your breakfast and you're feeling so hungry now that it's difficult for you to sit in this session. You really want to get out and grab a sandwich or do something, right? So that is where, so anytime there is a difference between an ideal state and an actual state. So the consumers recognize a need when you should be having comfortable shoes, but your shoe has developed a crick, वो आपको bite कर रहा है पीछे. So when that happens, the actual state should be comfort, leisure, and so on. It's not there. So you realize maybe I think I need a new shoe. So that's the stage of need recognition. Once you have a need recognition, you may have an instant decision or you may think about it and so on. So there are different type of decisions situations. Once you identify a need, there is a search for it. What should I do about it? Do I order a shoe? Do I go and look for it? So those are search for information. And then once you've evaluated, once you've got the alternatives, you then decide which alternative should I select, right? So evaluation of alternatives. Again, I just told you that there are, apart from this decision, once this is done, you go into the act of purchase. Once the purchase has happened, you may be satisfied with the purchase or maybe dissatisfied. You see a great advertisement of a new joint which serves the most wonderful burgers, right? You just pick up your phone and order a burger. When you eat it and your expectations are right there because it's been high, you believe that you're going to have a great time. You have a good time but not great. What happens? What will happen? If it's not dissatisfying, it's not bad, but it's not great either. What would happen? How would you feel as a consumer? Yes. No, that is the easiest example to understand. I know that there are marketing and non-marketing students, but food is something all Indians understand very well, right? Yeah. So what happens when you have a good burger but not a great burger? You were expecting a great burger. Because of that, what happens? You have some level of dissatisfaction. Therefore, what, look at the things that happen in your mind. You end up believing that advertiser a little less, that not everything he says may be true. You also have a certain discrepancy. So, would you buy again? You may or may not. If you have nothing else, then you might. Would you talk to your friends about it? You might. That not very good. Exactly what happens when we see a very hype movie. We go and spend 3 hours there paying not fairly unreasonable amounts of money, but then you come back and what would happen? You would, even before the movie has ended, you are onto the social media talking about, even if somebody pays you money, buys you coffee, please do not go and see that movie ever. It's bad. So this is where the post purchase behavior could either be satisfaction or non satisfaction. I'm saying all of this because each of these stages, upcoming slides, we're going to see how each of these stages has been affected by technological ecosystem of even a developing country like India. But Indians are fairly high up as far as technology is concerned. Now, apart from all of this, there are psychological and social factors which affect our decision making. The psychological factors are our personality, perception, attitudes, learning, and so on. These are factors within us which affect our behavior. There are social factors like culture, subculture, family, neighborhood, peers, which affect our behavior. So we'll see how technology has actually created a different kind of a environment within which all this takes place. Okay, general trends for technology in consumption behavior. Number one, today, sitting wherever you are, even sitting within this room, you have access to unlimited information. Some of you sitting at the back may actually be busy on your mobiles trying to look up something, trying to respond to a query, trying to respond to a message that you received. So we have access to information. The interesting thing, however, is that there are interactive channels where you are not only a passive consumer of information, you are also giving information. So, and there are novel channels which are there. The social media is a big player in our life. We do not realize it, but constant exposure to the WhatsApp university contributes knowingly or unknowingly to our attitude formation and so on and so forth. We therefore have to guard against some of the misinformation that is coming in. But that's one trend. The other trend is personalization. Today, just try to, and the commonest example here is Netflix. You see one or two types of movies in a line. The third time when you open up Netflix, they will give you a suggestive list. That means they've actually tracked your behavior and seen your choice, and they're now making that suggestion because that is that great degree of personalization possible because of huge data analytics and machine learning. Therefore, when they target consumers, when marketers start targeting consumers, this is now data driven targeting. They know exactly in the last 5 purchase cycles what is it that you bought. Therefore, what are the products you rejected? If you've gone through an aisle, when you clicked for payment, what were the choices you made? Now it's scary, slightly scary, that nothing that I do is private anymore because we do digital payments, because we check out of a shopping counter, because we order online. All of that information is being completely collected and analyzed. So this has got, for marketing students, please remember, this has got huge implications for consumer retention and planning for loyal consumers, right? You can therefore create strategies that will help you retain your consumers. This has been used to great advantage in banking services, insurance services, where you do not let a customer go out because you've been able to calculate their lifetime value to the company if they were with you for the rest of banking life. Mobile commerce is a very common thing today. You can access products, services, payment option anytime, anywhere. Sitting, I'll confess myself, there are times where I'm not here. Every alternate week I'm in Ranchi, and in the morning you get a phone call from your housemate saying we've run out of these things. Now, normally I would ask somebody to go in, but I sit down and order there because I am in a membership service for several providers. Therefore, you can conduct those. Think of the great convenience and think of the lack of, you remember 15 years ago, we used to sit down at the end of the month, draw up a shopping list, go to the provision store, buy everything. Today, all that is not needed. Social media and its influence, all of you are much more avid consumers of social media, much more avid participants than people like me are. But the fact is, it has impacted us in our learning, in our perception, in our attitudes, in venting our anger, in learning new things. So there are so many things that social media has affected. However, because of technology, it's also possible to have something called brand transparency. Brands talk about their values, they are challenged on those values, they defend those values, and therefore when you look at certain products, you get a very clear idea of what a given brand is. So if there is a misinformation, the company would immediately react and so on. We just got the Nestle case about Cerelac, where they were talking about a certain amount of sugar content there, and the company came back giving analytical figures. You would remember that there was a case about Cadbury chocolate getting some worms. There were other cases where it was told that people in India, chocolate makers in India, are actually using higher amount of zinc than is internationally allowed, and the company was able to come back and rebut that. Also, talk about, because of high temperatures, there has to be a slightly higher concentration, because in normal room temperature the chocolates would not remain stable. So it's also one of the trends in technology is transparency, and the consumers are allowed to do what is called informed decision making. We can actually compare, know about different, how many of us do comparison by going to different sites trying to find out. We also have ratings, and we have things like policybazaar.com or bankservices.com and so on. Mutual funds, we can compare and find out. So compared to my consumer friends of, let's say, 5 years back, today most consumers do a far higher informed decision making. The competition is intensifying. For in each brand category, you have many players, there are so many, but because of technology, because the smaller players also being able to reach large markets because of technology, online marketing, web-based marketing, it has been a more level playing field. It's not one big player overshadowing everyone. You would have a more, okay, uh, sitting here, can you now access products worldwide? Can you access products from different parts of the country? Uh, we have the good old Flipkarts, Amazons, and so on and so forth. So your access to different products and services has grown unimaginably, right? We can hire services, we can actually get consultancy overseas and all of that. So the access has grown tremendously, and this will only grow. Okay, while there are the traditional media are continuing. You have the newspapers, you have the TV channels, you have uh, radio and so on. What has happened to our life is immersive and interactive media in which you can immerse yourself. You can actually live an alternate ego on things like Facebook, Instagram, and so on and so forth. You also have interactive media where you write something, people react to that, and therefore you're a participant in the communication. So these are the trends that have grown. With the result, you also form what is called social groups of your own. Therefore, the reference groups, we'll come to that later, but this is now. There are people who believe that some of these changes are irreversible. Because we have this access to products, this will not come back. We will not go to shop and store buying, even if, we started all of that during COVID. But some of these changes are irreversible. When COVID stopped, some of us with a vengeance went to the malls because we had been caught in the houses so long. But sooner or later, we realize, is it a good idea to stand in the parking line, go there, spend so much time, come back, or maybe eat there but come back? And so isn't it much better that I invite friends over, have everything at home, look at the movie in the home theater rather than going out? So convenience has actually made some of these changes completely irreversible. Sometimes we will find that it is also economically beneficial. You can find sometimes things cheaper on the aggregators like Amazon and Flipkart and so on, that then you find on the this thing. So most people believe that some of these trends are actually irreversible trends. We will never come back to the brick and mortar buying the way we used to do before this technology. I had spoken to you about these 4 5 stages: need, recognition, search for information, evaluation of alternatives, purchase decision, and post purchase behavior. Each of these stages, let us see what technology has actually done. And okay, the first stage, need and problem recognition. When do you recognize a problem? You recognize a problem when the ideal stage and the actual state are different. But you sometimes also recognize a problem when you see a new product, a new variant is coming. I wish I had that, right? You see a new product being exposed, you see a new service being talked about. So, because of technology, I mean, this is how technology has impacted. Because of technology, your exposure to products and consumption situations has become much wider. So, you see people enjoying different kinds of soft drinks, you see people wearing new apparel, you see, I mean, Flipkart showing how international fashions can be brought into India using dear old Ranbir Kapoor as a very attractive model, and you automatically you don't really have a need, but you get excited and you think that you this is an apparel you should be having in your wardrobe. Watches, fashion items, new emerging fashions. Uh, Therefore, this is the need recognition. Social media exposure, people talking about new product, your friends uh, showing their me in front of the Milan library. So you see him wearing a certain thing, and you say, is that how beautiful Milan is? Should I think of my next holiday? And so on. So you had no idea, but because of this exposure, there is a problem recognition. Information access, I've already talked about. Product dissonance. What is dissonance? I have been satisfied with my uh, acquisitions or my own products. The feeling of dissatisfaction when it begins, that is, my expectations were satisfied, but suddenly something new comes in and my dissatisfaction starts. So, my conversion of a satisfied state to a dissatisfied state is called dissonance, right? I believe that this product no longer meets my expectations. So, you have a perfectly good watch, you see a beautifully sleek watch being advertised on social media, you see your friends on social media, you see something being introduced. So all new products sometimes have possibilities of dissonance. However, also research, we were talking about Nestle and Cerelac. What happened? This news came in, but because of social media, got became viral. Because it is viral, people who are using Cerelac immediately got a dissonant situation and dissatisfaction with an existing product that they've been using for a long time. Every other day, we keep on having research findings about polysaturated oils being bad for you, uh, vegetable oils being bad, nut oils being bad, or whatever. So, whatever you've been using, now this dissonance then create, what does it create? It creates a need recognition that maybe I need to change. You were satisfied, there was no need for a new product, you then change. And role of influencers, be it school, be it college, be it sorority group, be it friendship groups. What is a social media influencer? You will tell me. And what is his or her role? Have you come across any influencers? Have you been affected? Uh, Promoting brand, promoting trends, promoting way to dress, promoting a certain level of swag. Right? This is your language, not mine. Right? So all of this, what is cool and what is not cool anymore, right? So half the time my daughter tells me, you know, your dress is nice, but it is not formal enough for wearing at a office. So I tell her that you are a lawyer's office. I am a poor teacher, right? Teachers can dress up far more casually. But this is something you hear not from your own set, but this leaves a crinkle. Next time I'm trying to wear the dress, I will always think maybe I should. So all of these are then what would influence that next time I buy, maybe this is not the type of dress I should be buying. I should get more formal because, and she tells me now that you are a CEO of an organization. I said, I always think of me as a teacher rather than a vice chancellor. I don't change my dress mode because whatever. But the fact is, these are influencers who influence your problem recognition. And how has technology helped? Earlier, we used to get influenced by people in our immediate social circle. Today, you are member. How many groups are you at a given point of time member of? Everyone is on WhatsApp. That's true. Everyone is on Instagram and Facebook. Now, there are people who say Facebook is such old hat. Go on Instagram if you want to live a life, whatever. But on an average, can you tell me how many groups, how many social media influencing groups are you a member of at any given point of time? Four, five, and how much of your time you happily give to these media is another issue. But the fact is, your problem recognition because of this technology gets affected. Once you have identified a problem, you then try to find information to solve this problem. And therefore, what does a consumer need information for? Suppose you have decided you want a new shoe, right? What do you need information for? You need to buy something, but in order to be able to buy, you need information about the alternatives you have, the different kinds of products, what are their prices, what is in, what is fashionable now, what is out of style, what is out of sync, and so on, right? But you need information basically for two resources. One is you want to find out what are your alternatives, right? And the second one, if you're making that purchase in between big intervals, you also need to find information on what are the criteria on which you should evaluate the product. For example, you're wanting to buy a new laptop. Your last laptop was, let's say, 4 years ago. You're wanting to buy a new laptop. You are not sure of how have the emerging brands changed. How are the new alternatives different? Therefore, you need information on criteria you should be using in terms of bandwidth, memory, this, that, and so on, capacity to load a large number of software, and so on, battery life, all of these, right? Uh, need information on criteria to evaluate, and if also need information on what are my alternatives, 5, 7, 8, so that I can. Have you ever heard any marketing students who heard the term of evoked set? What is an evoked set? Okay, we'll forget this and go ahead. Uh, Therefore, how do you initiate and carry information search? You people tell me, when you're wanting to book a restaurant for a special friend, how do you look for information? What are the ways? No, you're taking somebody out to a restaurant. You're not ordering, right? You want to take a special friend to a restaurant to eat. So, how do you get your information? How do you begin your information search? Google, your your basic circles, your advisories, and so on, right? Therefore, the first earlier people used to ask each other, "Is area mein which are the good restaurants?" Right? Today, the first thing you do is use of technology, right? So, how, your sources have changed, and you don't look at one single source, you look at several sources, and the methods are almost always surfing. You surf, you find out, then you look at people's comments, then you look at what are the reviews that they have got, and in general, then you sometimes check with friends. Have you been there? Have you looked at this Amaltas in GK2? What is it all about? Is it good? The prices are quite high, but is the service as good? So you hear all of this, and then you do your evaluation. Sometimes you already have ideas in our mind what is good or what is bad. You've been to certain restaurants, but you haven't been there in a long time. So you want to then confirm or disconfirm some of the. Again, we go to social media, or we go to ratings and this thing, reviews, and look at it. Look at TripAdvisor. When you're going out and you're selecting a hotel for your stay, the only thing that we really look at is TripAdvisor or other rating agencies in those countries to find out of the hundreds of things that are there, and they would all have good websites. They all talk about, they've shown you a room, they've shown you meal options and so on, shown you prices. But you still need to go to some rating agency to find out what is true, what's not. A good thing that technology has provided today is visual search tools. We can see things in 3D. If you've seen Sephora, which is a cosmetics company, it allows you not only the search of options, the colors can be shown. They also let you know that if you're using this particular foundation on your face, So you send them a picture, you select the foundation that you want, and then it will show you how you would look. So it's a visual search, and then you can decide what is it that I want to. So it is looking good as a color on my skin tone doesn't work. Therefore, visual search is again a huge technology input that is there. Okay, now that you have information from a large number of sources, web, social media, friends, rating agencies, the question is that of information overload. If you have too much information, how do you process that information? How do you then decide? Research shows that when people have large amount of information, they actually end up making poorer decisions. Why? Because as people, we are incapable of processing all that information, and therefore then you become more selective and more focused and look at only certain agencies, certain ratings, and so on. So my question therefore is, as far as information search is concerned, do you believe technology is an enabler? The answer is yes, it is an enabler. However, you need to be very careful in removing the wheat from the chaff. There's so much information, half of which is misinformation. We are looking at fake news, we are looking at fake informations, even in AI and chat GPT world, we are looking at so many fake videos and so on being created. So even a visual medium could, therefore, you only need to look at what is called more reliable sources, more certified sources, and so on. So technology may be a great enabler. It may not necessarily lead to good decision making, right? Unless we are careful.